All right. Hello, 8th grade teachers. I hope you guys are doing great today. Cool. Okay. So today we're going to be going over the suggested pacing guide. So we've done the curriculum map, and then if you come down, the suggested pacing guide is actually where most of your lesson planning is going to take place. This is where I bring all of the resources together to make it easy for you to plan out really engaging and fun lessons with your students. I'll start up here up at the top. We have our student learning objectives. And as well, if you want to jump to the Discovery Ed side of things, this takes you to the main page for that concept. But pretty much all that content is blended into here. You don't have to go there for your stuff. So the student learning objectives, I put in there. These are already written in student-focused language, so like the I can obtain. They also correlate, so you notice that these are numbered. If you scroll down, I've already labeled, so objectives 1 and 3 are covered in these activities. Objectives 2, 4 through 6 are handled in these. So it's already numbered, so depending on what activity you're doing, you know what objectives you're hitting on. So use these in your lesson planning. I know some people put them on their board, so use these already pre-made, have the great language. Just tweak the language based off what you're doing with your class for that day. There's also a guiding phenomena suggestion, so each time that you start off a concept, this might be a good question to ask students at the beginning. This is actually the question students will need to answer at the end of the concept to show that they've demonstrated knowledge. So I believe activity 1 will ask this question, and then by the end, the explain activity, students have to answer that using all the stuff that they've learned. So very useful for doing this. The way I did it with students is we asked this question at the start, students answered on a post-it note, sort of like a what do we know beforehand, and then you can come back to that at the end and be like, wow, look how much more we learned. And then the standards that are used in this or addressed in this concept are also listed here. As we come down, now we're into the actual lesson planning aspect. This is basically, all right, where are our resources and how can I blend this together? So that's what I'm going to walk through with you guys. Starting over here on the right, we have the Discovery Ed resources. Now, if you want to get to activities 1 through 4, you don't have to go navigate Discovery Ed. If you just click this link, it'll take you right there where you can see those activities. And those are in the Engage category for this concept. Most of the learning takes place in the Explore. Again, you can click this and it'll take you right there. So you don't have to worry about navigating Discovery Ed as much. I've also brought out other things like the vocabulary building activities that they have embedded in Discovery Ed. Those are a bit hidden away, so I've kind of found them and pulled them out for you, as well as the main idea graphic organizer. Discovery Ed had something, it was just a very boring, plain graphic organizer. But the idea of this is have students take notes about answering this question, and then by the time they get to the end and they do that explain activity, they can use their graphic organizer to help them flush out all their evidence. So those could be very useful for use, and they look cool as well. All right, we'll come over to these in just a second, but the way that I explain using these activities in Discovery Ed, you have the book and you have online, but also you can integrate these however you want. Let's say an activity has a video, and that's basically it, maybe some questions. Maybe I don't use the book or online, and I just play the video and we do a class discussion, or students talk among their groups to answer it. Maybe there's a reading, maybe I have 3 different activities and I make stations out of them. So sometimes I'm going to use the book, sometimes I'm going to use online, but mostly I just want to use these resources to build out a lesson that I think is fun and engaging and helps the students. So don't think of it as on Monday we do activity 5, on Tuesday we do activity 6, Wednesday activity. Like you don't have to do just like I'm doing things as they're listed. Feel free to make it your own. And that's what adding in all these other resources is going to help you do, is bring in more to help you utilize these at a higher level. So as we move over, so we're going to start here, figure out what we have to build off of, and then you got Nearpod. If you're unfamiliar with Nearpod, I have a whole video in this playlist that will walk you through that. But essentially, now here are different lessons, vocabulary, videos, and activities that you can use as part of your lesson planning. And these are pre-made stuff. You can also create your own Nearpod resources. As we go over one more, these are more of our hands-on labs and virtual activities. Up at the top, you'll often find a MoLeap activity or two. These are state-created content. The newer ones even have PowerPoint slides. They incorporate data, labs, text, all sorts of things. So those could be useful if you start to get into those. I also highlight any activity from Discovery Ed that requires, so like activity 11, that's going to require some material. So if I click on here, it'll take me directly to activity 11, and I can kind of see my material list so I can plan ahead. I've also highlighted all the gizmos. These are online simulations. There's a video in this playlist about using gizmos. So those are excellent for making engaging lessons. There's none in this one, but we also have access to PhET, which is just another simulation website similar to Gizmos, just a little bit different. So those will be listed as well. And then finally over here on the left, I've gone through and I've found different YouTube videos on topics that are being talked about for each week. These are either really great for a review for the students. Maybe you're unfamiliar with the topic, you can learn from it. You could assign it to your students. These could be added into a Nearpod video with questions embedded, all sorts of ways to use these. Typically, if it's a longer video, don't play out the whole thing. If you're going to play the whole thing, make it a Nearpod, add some question breaks in there to keep your students engaged. As you get down to the bottom, you get to the Evaluate section. Down here, you're going to find the concept assessments. We've talked about the, ignore that last statement. The concept assessment and the practice assessment. These are questions that should address how well students learn things as you went through. The practice is typically easier, more multiple choice, and then the concept has more difficult questions and questions that more like drag and drop, matching, those sorts of things. These are now, you can edit them, so you can cut out certain questions that you know you didn't cover. But these are a really good way to help students practice and really see if they've learned anything. This is actually where I pull questions when I create the district test. So having students do these as they create or as they learn will help them review for the district test. So very useful there. And then we've talked about the performance assessment in other videos. I've just linked them down here. So this would take you to the Falcon has landed. Here's your answer key. There's another way to assess for your students and good map practice. All of that's just going to repeat. It's the same stuff in the next concept. And then the last concept, you also get your unit performance assessment. So as you end the unit, maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to do a little bit of map practice. And we've talked about those in other videos. And then a reminder like, hey, maybe you want to wrap this up with the unit project. And you can go check that out. There's a little quick shortcut. If you're ready to jump over to quarter 2, you can use this link and jump on over. Or if you want to get back up to the top, just click on this. And you can jump, beam me up, Scotty, and ride back to the top. All right, that is it for the suggested pacing guide. I hope that helps you see how you have all these resources you can use for planning things out. And then I got other videos that go into each resource to help you out for your lesson creating. All right, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next video.